by the show of hands, it looked like, most of you are, fairly early on in your careers. Probably you haven't gotten with a publishing deal or a label yet. So I'm wondering, panelists, for those songwriters who are just starting out, what are some things that they can maybe do on their own before they reach a point where they're reaching out to one of your services for help with their career?
Well, I'll say definitely, again, set yourself up appropriately. Before you can go to Royalty Exchange or 23 Capital, you need to be able to show these companies that you've had a track record of royalties or something on which they can bet against. And the only way to do that is to know if you're actually earning royalties. So, there's one way of doing that is obviously through CD Baby, where they help you on both the master side and the publishing side, which is something that not most distributors do, which I think is great. But with Tune Registry, you can also do the publishing side and access more of your royalties without giving up an administration fee, for example. So I think it's important to understand that this is the music business, and the business part is important, just as much as important as the music part. Anyone in here can do music as a hobby, right? But you're not paying admission to a conference to learn how to do music as a hobby. You're here to learn how to do music as a business. And if you're gonna do music as a business, you need to make sure that you're operating it as a business, which means you need to use the right tools, and those tools include strategies. So I would say the very first thing that you want to do when you pull yourself together after this week is sit down and think, okay, you mentioned earlier that Tracy mentioned that you're working with multiple copyrights. The first question is, well, what are those copyrights? Right? Go do research, figure out what those copyrights are, and then, okay, how do I monetize those copyrights? Is it easy or is it difficult? If it's difficult, do I need to have support, or can I do it over a period of time? So just sitting down and evaluating yourself and understanding where you are in your career will help you get to the next level.
Yeah, and I think that if you're a songwriter, you have a public performance right to your works, which is going to come to you through radio and streaming services. You also have a mechanical right. So you need to get these things in order right at the beginning. A lot of times, artists who are putting things out and writers who are in the studio and there's a collaboration, there may be 10 people in the studio, you think, oh, we'll put this out, and if it's a hit, I'll get out of bed and register at the Copyright Office and make sure I have a code. No, don't do that. Do it right away, because if your song blows up in streaming, you might have a really narrow window of when you can collect those royalties, and then it's going to disappear. So the last thing you're going to be doing if your song's blowing up unexpectedly is figuring out Googling what's an ISWC code. How can I self-publish? You need to be able to collect all of that money, and the publishing industry, especially in the U.S., is undergoing tremendous changes on mechanical rights. So be informed. Understand that in a digital landscape, the only way that your music is ever going to receive a royalty is if it has a unique identifier and an ownership associated with it. And do that at the beginning, and then go on, write your next great song.
I totally agree with Day. Become an expert, and you're here at ASCAP, so you're experts now. And with Vicky, register your copyrights, but don't wait for success to do it. And if you're saying, well, how do I do that? Do I need a lawyer? No, actually go to ustpo.gov and go to the copyright section. You can actually register right there. I think it costs $49. It's not something that you have to have help doing, and you absolutely should do it before you ever publish or distribute your work.
Absolutely. One thing just to add on to what all three of these have said is that, just as you have to be disciplined about making that creative time for yourself to write new songs, you really need to also be disciplined to make space in your life for business. So the songwriters that I have seen personally be most successful independently have been very disciplined about making sure that they have a set time each week, that they are getting their songs registered that they wrote the prior week, that they're doing research, asking those questions, and so that every Monday at 3 p.m., my head is in business mode, and you can kind of leave the creative behind so that you can focus on that business. So that then when you're in your creative space, you're not worrying about, oh, I need to get this registered, or, oh, I'm not going to collect any money. You're able to be more free even in your creative mode. So I really encourage that discipline structure to approaching business as much as you apply that to writing songs.